Namaste. I'd like to welcome you to my heart and to the Temple of Kriya Yoga this afternoon. Today we're celebrating Guru Purnima, and to begin the meditation, I'd like to start with an opening prayer and ask if you could just come to a comfortable meditative posture. May the infinite Lord of life, of love, and of laughter bless you at this moment. May each cell of your being and each petal of your mind be touched, be healed, be harmonized. May vim, vigor, and vitality be yours. May love and laughter be yours. May you truly find that which you seek, and may you find that which you seek surely, swiftly, and most harmoniously. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti. Today we're honoring the Guru, celebrating the idea of the Guru-disciple relationship. And the official name of the day is Guru Purnima. Purnima means full moon day in July. And Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, is the full moon in July. And so traditionally you just celebrate the day, the Sunday before the full moon. Purnima means full moon day, and Guru is a Sanskrit word also. These are Sanskrit words. So Guru is a Sanskrit word. And it has two parts to it. Guru. Gu means darkness, and Ru means remover, or remover of. So the idea or the concept of Guru is the remover of darkness, and that's what the Guru is. If you have a Guru, the job of your Guru is to remove, we say darkness, but another term I think more appropriate would be ignorance. So it's to help you remove ignorance from your mind, from your consciousness. You remove the ignorance, you remove the darkness so that you can see the light being the light of balanced self-conscious awareness. Today I'd like to spend some time meditating with you about this idea of Guru and kind of look at it in a meditative way, what's the real meaning of Guru. And here at the temple, the founder, Sri Goswami Kriyanandaji, is the Guru of the temple, and Kriyananda has many disciples, hundreds and hundreds of disciples around the world. And his disciples are, some of them themselves are gurus. In other words, they have disciples. And the idea of today is that we honor or we dedicate the day to this guru-disciple relationship. And the idea is that as I mentioned a moment ago, the purpose of the Guru is to remove this veil of ignorance, or to help us remove this veil of ignorance that exists within each of us. And it separates us from God, if I can use that term. Maybe a better term would be, it separates us from our awareness of the universe. And by that what I mean is our connection to the universe being the manifestation of divinity. And so where we are in the world today really is at a point where the relationship is muddied. It's got a veil on it. It's not clear that we are part of the universe. We are, we just don't know it. I'm a part of the universe is a part of me. You're a part of the universe is a part of you. And we're all connected and interconnected together. The ignorance that we have is that we think we're separated, and that's an ego manifestation. I suppose another way of saying that the function of the guru is to remove ignorance. The function of the guru is to make you aware that you have an ego, and that ego is so strong that it's creating this ignorance in your mind, and I actually think that I'm separate from the universe. I think if I injure another person, that I'm not injuring myself. According to yoga philosophy, if you injure another person, you're injuring yourself. My guru, Kriyananda, would say that when we injure another person, we injure ourselves. We just don't become aware of it until a future time and at a future place. And then he always adds, with interest. That was the scary part. I remember he would say that, there's payment due if something happens where you injure somebody else or something else in the universe. And it wasn't just you slap someone and then sometime in the future they slap you back. There's this interest part, and it always used to make me think when he would talk about it, and it kind of just registered in my mind as being an important factor. So anyway, I was talking about this idea of the guru, that Kriyananda has the temple, and he has disciples. The disciples are gurus, and they have disciples. And then the other way, Kriyananda has a guru. His guru is Sri Shelley-ji. Now when I say, I mentioned before, Sri Kriyananda-ji, those are the Sri before his name is kind of like an honorific title, or it's a title saying sir, or it's a respect. You're saying something respectful in front of the name of the guru that you're dealing with. And then after the name, you also give an honorific exclamation, which is Ji. And so a lot of times you'll hear at the temple people talking about it. They'll say, oh, Sri Kriyananda-ji or Sri Shelley-ji or something like that. The Sri, S-R-I, before the name, the G, J-I, after the name, is just to give respect to the person that you're talking to or talking about. And so Kriyananda, Sri Goswami Kriyananda-ji, had a guru. His guru was Shelley, Sri Shelley-ji. Sri Shelley-ji had a guru. His guru was Yogananda. Yogananda had a guru. His guru was Sri Yukteswar-ji. Sri Yogananda-ji, Sri Yukteswar-ji. And then he had a guru. His name was Lahiri Mahasha, Sri Lahiri Mahasha-ji. And then finally, in our lineage that we deal with in a substantive way is Babaji. And it's interesting because when we say the name, we're saying the name is like Babaji, like it's one name, but actually Babaji is the fountainhead. He's the one who started this concept of Kriya Yoga for this particular lineage. He didn't start Kriya Yoga. It's the idea that this lineage is focused on Kriya Yoga is what I mean by the fountainhead. Now he had a guru, and his guru had a guru, and then of course the question becomes, or gets to eventually to the point where, well, who's the first guru? But if I go back to Babaji, Babaji is kind of an enigmatic figure in the lineage that we're dealing with, and that's because you can actually go online and do some research and investigating and studying, and it's interesting to do that about the Kriya Yoga lineage. And there's, I say enigmatic because there's kind of a aura about his birth when he was born. Now some places will give a specific birth, other places say, well, actually he lived for thousands of years. He's been wandering in the Himalayas for many years, and that he is an enlightened soul, so he will live forever. The physical body is not going to die. And there's a lot of symbolism in that. There's a lot of meaning in that, and even in the name Babaji, there's a lot of meaning. And again, if you go online, you can study it, and you can get a lot of different ideas. And it's hard to say what's right and what's wrong, and what the actual facts are regarding it. And it really doesn't matter. What matters more is the concepts and the ideas that evolved from Sri Babaji. And again, as an example, the name itself is very mystical, because we think of Babaji as the name, but it's not. It's Ba-Ba-Ji. Now, Ji I talked about is just a term of respect that's put. So his name is Baba, but Baba is like Papa. There's a kind of, if I'm using a play on words, but there's this relationship between Baba and Papa. And when you make the sound, when you produce the sound, it creates a state of consciousness. And the whole idea of the lineage, really more important than who they are, when they lived, how long they lived, and all of that, is really not important. What's really important is that the idea of Babaji is a state of consciousness. And the state of consciousness is Baba. And like I said, Papa. In other words, it's a father figure state of consciousness. Now, we all have relationships that exist between ourselves and our parents, our father, our mother, and that some of the relationships are very positive, some of the relationships are very negative, and everything in between. There's a whole spectrum there. But irregardless, it does not matter what the relation is, good, bad, or otherwise. It does not matter what the relationship is between your physical father and you, between your physical mother and you. What's important is that you have respect for those persons, or what those persons respect. And Kriyananda talked about this idea, this concept, that when you talk about your father, you're really talking about a symbol that exists within you. And the symbol exists up here at the Sun Center. And the Sun Center represents the father, Baba. And the mother figure is at the Moon Center, at the back of the head, Mama. And when you pronounce those words, Papa, Mama, in pronouncing the words, it has an effect on your consciousness. And when you pronounce the words, it adds inner positive strength to the idea, to the symbolism, if when you say the words, you approach the words and you say the words, you say them with respect. The vocalization, pronouncing things, causes your body to vibrate, and your body changes its vibration based on the words that you use. Now, Sanskrit is considered a sacred language, and the terminology that I'm using is related to Sanskrit. So when I talk about all of these names and ideas and concept, I guess in the back of my mind I'm saying, I'm thinking Sanskrit, and I didn't mention that, and I should have. Baba is one of the Sanskrit consonants. Ba. And when you pronounce the Sanskrit words, they cause your astral body to vibrate, and your astral body is your soul. In a certain way of speaking, it's your soul, but it causes it to vibrate, and that's the physical body affects the astral body. The vibration of the astral body then causes the physical body to vibrate, and the physical body vibrates. And if it's done in a positive fashion, in a positive manner, then you receive positive benefits from it. If it's done lackadaisical or in a negative, done with anger and that also produces a vibration. But obviously what I'm suggesting is that the vibrations are negative, and it causes a negative effect on you. And you can ask, well, what do you mean by positive and negative? How do I determine what's positive? That's an important question, and it's a good question. What does positive mean? What does negative mean? Or what is good and bad? In yoga, they say good. There is no such thing as good and bad. Usually they're talking in terms of karma. Do I have good karma or do I have bad karma? And what is it? And usually what you'll hear is that in yoga we say there is no such thing as good and bad. And that's true. But the fact of the matter is our world changes by events that occur in our lives, and either it causes us to have feelings which are uplifting and positive, or they have feelings and even physical pain or suffering if it's negative. And so you do deal with positive and negative. You deal with good and bad, because you're dealing with what makes me feel good, what makes me happy, and what makes me unhappy, and what makes me feel bad. And the way we determine whether something is good or bad, whether it's positive or negative, because that's the ultimate question when we're trying to figure out, well, how should we act, what should we think, what should we say, what should we do. Something that is good and positive, in yoga we say, is that which expands your consciousness. If your consciousness expands, it's good, it's positive. If your consciousness constricts, it decreases, it's constricted, then we say that's bad. Do you ever, if you have a pet, a dog, and if you don't have a dog, I'm sure you're aware of interactions that people have with pets and with their pets. And you say to a dog, "Oh, hi," and you open your arms. "Oh, hi." These are symbolic moves. You open your arms, "Oh, hi," and your face lights up, and you see the dog, the ears perk up, and it's happy, and it comes running to you, and it wants you to pet the dog, and you can literally see the consciousness expanding, and you know it's a good thing. And then on the other hand, if you take and you bring your hand back like you're going to strike the dog, the dog, you can see immediately the ears go down, the ears go back, the expression on the dog changes, and you can see the light going out of the the animal. Same with the human. Whether you're physically acting like you're going to strike someone, or if you verbally act, say something that hurts a person, even if you think something, you can look at a person's eyes and you can see what they're thinking. You know what they're thinking. That is to say, if they like you or don't like you. And so you're watching for that. And that's this expansion in consciousness, or this constriction in consciousness. And you can see it, you can feel it. You know it's there. It's what yoga is really all about. That consciousness that you are, the consciousness that I am. What is it doing? Is it growing? Is it expanding? Is it getting bigger? Or is it contracting, constricting, getting smaller? Now, the reason we say there is no such thing as good and bad is because the consciousness can constrict and get smaller, but the end result of it may be something, it will be something good or positive. The example that I would give would be the child that is playing outside, and you see the child playing outside, and you're with the child, and the child starts running towards the street. So you grab the child and you spank the child and you say, no, don't do that. Again, you see the consciousness constricting and the child starts crying and that. And so in that case, there's a constriction of the consciousness. However, the result of that is to teach the child that you don't run out in the street, because the danger, the negative effects of that experience could be much more devastating than the effects of grabbing the child and spanking the child. And I think that's obvious. That example you can take and expand it and extend it out to all of life. And everything that's existing in this world, mystically we would say, as terrible as it is and as difficult as it is, it's leading to a state of enlightenment. It's leading to a state of cosmic consciousness and expansion of this consciousness for all life forms eventually. You can let nature take its course, and if it takes its course, there's going to be good periods and bad periods. We say, we divide it into different ages, like you have golden age and the silver age and the bronze age, and then you have the age of darkness. And they say in the world that we're living in today, it's the age of darkness. The term we use, Sanskrit term, is Kali Yuga. And that's an age where our consciousness has constricted down to a point where it's so constricted, most of the world thinks that all life is just restricted to this world. And some people, even more than that, not just this world, but to a specific location where they are, the home that their whole life is just their home. They go out, they go to work, spend some time at work, then they come back home, and that's their whole life, and they think that's what the whole universe is all about. Obviously, that's a very limited, very constricted state of consciousness, and that's typical of what happens in the Dark Age, Kali Yuga, the Age of Darkness, which we're really smack dab in the middle of right now. I'm giving a kind of a gentle example of just the person who's involved with their own personal life and all they think about is their own life, and aren't really concerned about anything outside of their own life. And that's ignorance. You, at some point, hopefully in this lifetime, and hopefully it's already happened to you, you've come to a realization, something lit up in your head. There's a mini enlightenment that happens in your head. If you're listening to this video, to what I'm saying, it pretty much means that you've had some type of an experience in your life where you've said, wait a minute, there's got to be something more than getting up, going to work, coming home, and then going to bed, getting up, go to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, get up, go to work. On the weekend, you go to the baseball game, come home, take a little break from the work. Then on Monday, you go back to work, and that's the whole life. So you spend 20, 40, 100 years, whatever the case might be, and that's what the whole life is just about. It's this repetition of quote unquote relatively meaningless events that occur in your life. And a person goes through this, and usually because during this cyclical pattern, something very painful, difficult happens in the person's life. And here's where the purpose of that pain is not as a punishment. We would say the negative karma, the difficult karma, is not a punishment, or it's not meant to be a punishment. It isn't. What it is, it's a learning experience. It's that experience of the child running into the street. This is life grabbing you by the arm and spanking you, so to speak, symbolically, saying you're headed in the wrong direction. There's something within you. There's a spirit that exists within you, the Atma, the spirit, not the soul, but the spirit that is within you. It is centered within you. It is your state of consciousness. That consciousness exists, and we would say it exists in all time and all space. But what we have done is we have taken that consciousness, which is all expansive, all inclusive, all powerful, and just brought it down to a point where all it is focused on this life. And we're literally confined in a prison. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much freedom you think you have to travel around the world, to go out and to do whatever you want. You have the freedom, maybe you have it, maybe you don't, but if you do, it's nothing. It's literally a confined prison environment, type of environment that exists when it's compared with the more expansive state of consciousness that you are, that exists within you, that radiates from you. And it actually is, I said it's all expansive, and so what that means, it goes outside the physical body. One of the things that has happened, and this is something that started in the 17th century, really. In my own way of thinking, the focus was on what we would call materialism. And materialism became emphasized in the materialism, meaning that what's important is how we live our life and what we do with our life, and what kind of material possessions can we get through our lives. That's a very confining, constrictive, and it's a frame of mind. It's a type of activity in your life that produces confinement, and that confinement eventually, at some point, will lead to pain. It could be psychological pain, or get even worse, to actually physical pain. And we look in the world and we see a tremendous amount of physical pain that exists throughout the world in the lives of pretty much everybody that we know. In some way or shape or form, they're in some type of physical pain. And it goes to even mental pain. You can almost feel the mental pain that exists in a lot of people and see their suffering and the verbal and just the way they talk, the verbal pain you can feel. And one of the things that we try and teach at the purpose of the guru, back to the concept of the guru, removing darkness, the purpose of the guru is to say your purpose in life is to expand this consciousness, and the way you expand this consciousness is by helping other people. How do you help other people, or how do you know if you're helping them? Very simple. You look at their face, and if they're doing this, when you're dealing with them in any way, shape, or form, obviously you're not helping them. You're constricting them, you're confining them, and in effect you're confining yourself. That which you do to another, you do more so to yourself at a different time, at a different place, with interest. If I could quote my guru. So anyway, the purpose, our purpose, yogically speaking, mystically speaking, is to move out into the world, to open our eyes, to open our ears, to open our mind, to open our consciousness, our awareness, and see the suffering that exists, see the pain that exists, and somehow help take that pain and move it from, Kriyananda again would say, an upside down smile or a frown, and turn it around to a smile. An right side up smile. Sometimes something as simple as just smiling to another person can help them, can lift their spirits. In fact, it does. It might be tiny and it might be minuscule, where they'll see the smile, and whether they react by, most people will just automatically react by smiling back. Some people are in so much pain they can't even get to that point where they can muster a smile to smile back. Doesn't matter. You help by smiling them, giving them words of encouragement, maybe even helping them. I'm doing the 3 levels. Mentally, there's a smile, there's an aura that radiates from you, your consciousness radiates this idea of friendliness, of happiness, that's on a very subtle mental level that it exists, and that you want it to radiate from you into the world. To the physically, you say hi, hope you're having a nice day, something like that. You say something that enlivens their day, that picks up their spirit a little bit and helps them to be a little bit happier. And you do it in spite of any reaction that they get. Most of the time you'll get a positive reaction. Some of the times, once in a while, you don't get a positive. You may even get a very negative reaction. It doesn't matter. Even the negative reactions have some positivity in them, whether you realize it or not. And so you on a mental level, on the verbal level, and then maybe even on a physical level, you pat them on the back, say, hey, everything's going to be fine. Wow, you really look good today, something like that. All the way through to, if someone, there's a beggar on the street, you give them $1 or $2 or whatever the case might be. You reach out and actually physically help them, monetarily help them. Could be a stranger, it could be somebody that you know, it doesn't matter what it is. You're becoming kind of like a mini guru, little guru to that person, because you're helping to remove the darkness from that cloud of darkness that exists around them. But a technique that we use, a very important technique that we use to help people, is through prayers and praying. I'm in a prayer group. The temple has a prayer group. And so one of the techniques that's used to help people is to pray for them, or to meditate for them. And again, the prayer group is a way that's formally set up that can be used to help people, and it's a good technique and an important technique. And as part of that, and something that I'd like to give to you this afternoon, is another technique which you do before the prayers, or what's something that I do before the prayers, and that's to sit down and meditate. You sit down and meditate, and one of the things you can do is meditate on Aumm. Meditating on Aumm is one of the major techniques that you can use, that I use, that's available to us to help focus our attention, and it gives us a greater ability to take that consciousness that we are, that consciousness that exists within us, and expand it out so that it helps other people. Praying does help. It helps because your consciousness touches their consciousness. It kind of synchronizes with their consciousness. There's a harmony that when you pray, a person says, "Pray for me," and you pray for them by saying their name, by visualizing them in your mind, things like this. It adds strength to the ability, and it helps the person to heal. Prayers do work. Now, you're not healing the person. That's not what's happening with prayers. What's happening is your consciousness is affecting their consciousness, and their consciousness, when you pray for them, opens up, it expands, and it allows them in their own mind and in their own way to expand their consciousness and heal themselves. We say in yoga, all healing is self-healing. So the person that does the prayer, the meditation, whatever it might be, that's done to go out and to help, and to help people in the world, isn't that you're doing something to them. What it is that your consciousness is expanding out. It's synchronizing excuse me, with their consciousness, and their consciousness feels that and opens up, and they heal themselves. And that's the process that works when you're dealing with prayers and prayer requests. And again, the idea is you want to get back to a point where your consciousness has the most effect when you're doing the prayers and the prayer requests, or even just moving out into the world. But every day you want to meditate, and when you meditate, one of the popular meditative techniques, as I mentioned before, is this Aumm meditative technique. You can verbally chant it out loud, Aumm, Aumm, Aumm. And as you do that, you take your consciousness from wherever it's at, you take your consciousness, you bring it to this point that exists between the eyes, at the root of the nose, the Baba center, the Papa center, and then you say, if I could take that a step further, Baba Ji, which is, Father, I respect you, Papa, Baba Ji. The first guru, or the lineage that goes back to the guru of Babaji. You bring it there, and what they say is you chant Aumm, and you can do a visualization, and a visualization that you can do is to visualize the Aumm symbol. The Aumm symbol is like a 3, and then it has 4 more points. It has like a loop that's downward facing. On the right hand side is a loop upward facing, and a dot. And they say those are the 4 letters of the Aumm that you're pronouncing, A-U-M-M. It's 4 letters, which two letters are repeated. And so you can visualize the Om symbol. You can chant the Om verbally, and then in your mind, you have, that's the verbal manifestation. That's the physical the mental manifestation, and then you can have a physical manifestation where you actually physically print the Om symbol, and you can put that in front of you on your place of meditation, and use that as a visual cue that's that occurs on the physical level. All these things add strength to the ability to focus your mind, focus your conscious mind, your consciousness, the balance, and move to a state of balanced self-conscious awareness, which that ultimate first guru represents. And that consciousness is strengthened in your ability to take that consciousness and move it out and expand it out and help those in need, help those who are suffering in one way or another, physically, verbally, or mentally, and providing healing for them, which again is really what the temple is about. It's what yoga is about. It's at least one of the things the temple is about, one of the major things that the yoga is about. We want to help ourselves. We want to be able to heal ourselves. Physician, heal thyself. So we do need to work on improving ourselves and our own situation and all of that. But then it needs to expand out and start to help others. Usually the way it works is we help ourselves. We need to pick up ourselves first and kind of get our own house in order, and then it moves to the family, usually through marriage, children, that type of thing. And so our consciousness is forced to expand. Marriage is a good thing because it forces us to move out of that my, me, mine, and that very egocentric self-conscious that's all that matters. All of a sudden you get married and you realize there's a taskmaster that you've linked yourself to, and that taskmaster is forcing you to expand out beyond your own ego self to their world. And then you get other little taskmasters called children, and then your consciousness has to expand out even further. And when that happens, the next stage is whether you go out into the world or your children or your spouse goes out into the world, it doesn't matter. But there's this movement out into the world, and all of a sudden you realize you have to start helping other people. And all of that is a good sequence of events which occurs, all starting with the idea of going into your meditation, that meditative state, and you chant Om either verbally, or you could just chant the Om mentally and mentally visualize the Om symbol and bring everything focused there. And what that does is it improves your awareness of your consciousness. Your consciousness is there. It's not, your consciousness is in the physical body, but your consciousness exists outside of the physical body. It's kind of like a magnet. A magnet has a magnetic field, and the magnetic field is in the magnet, but the magnetic field is outside of the magnet. And you can put some iron filings around, and you can see the effect that the magnet has external to the physical magnet. Well, that's like your consciousness. Your consciousness exists in you, but it also exists outside you. It's just that it's focused most intensely inside of you. And what you're trying to do is take that consciousness that exists inside you and bring it to a point of self-awareness or self-conscious awareness. That's where this idea comes in. You meditate, you bring your awareness inside, because that's where it's the strongest. That's where it's focused at in this lifetime. That kind of egocentric, self-conscious awareness. And then realize that it doesn't just exist within the heart of whoever I am, whatever I am, but it exists beyond that. That's what your meditation does. All of a sudden, if you're doing your meditation properly, somebody once asked, how do I know if I'm meditating properly? There's a number of answers to that, but one of the answers is, if you're meditating, if you're meditating properly, because all of a sudden you become aware that something exists that's much, 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 much greater than yourself. You're in your meditative position, you're meditating, and all of a sudden you just have this feeling, wow, there's something that exists and it's much, much greater than I am. It exists way beyond who and what I am. And then, if you go deeper into the meditation, all of a sudden you have the realization, oh my God, I'm part of that consciousness, which is much, much greater than I am. And we say that's the wave of the ocean melting into the ocean. You're a wave, I'm a wave. And the wave is part of the ocean, and the ocean is part of the wave. It's just that at this stage in our evolution, we think we're the wave. And we think that all that exists is the wave. It just isn't true. We're trying to get ourselves, as that wave, to melt back into the ocean and have the awareness that we're part of that. And that's what this meditation does, and the Aumm meditation. The Aumm meditation brings you to an awareness of the physical body and who and what the physical body is, but then it expands out and you become aware of something that exists outside of you, and that your consciousness exists outside of you, and there's much, much more to it. And then it expands even out further than that to the limits of your awareness, beyond the earth and the earth plane, beyond the solar system and the solar system plane of the solar system. It exists within the galaxy and beyond the galaxy, and it exists even beyond the galaxy to the universe. And in that meditation, at some point, hopefully in this lifetime, if not in this lifetime, then at some future point, in some future lifetime, it will happen. It will happen to you. It will happen to me, where I have the awareness. You have the awareness. My God, there is something that exists, a consciousness that exists, that's beyond my consciousness, which itself is infinite in existence, but there's something even much greater than that. And not only does it exist, but I'm actually a part of that. It's a part of me, and I'm a part of it. I'm the wave that's a part of the ocean of existence, and the ocean of existence is a part of me. And again, if you come to a meditative posture, may the infinite Lord of life, of love, and of laughter bless you at this moment. May each cell of your being, each petal of your mind be touched, be healed, be harmonized. May vim, vigor, and vitality be yours. May love and laughter be yours. May you truly find that which you seek. And may you find that which you seek surely, swiftly, and most harmoniously. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Nandalala Tere Pyare Namahe Gopala Tere Pyare Namahe Nandalala